Hello and welcome to the Jamboree pre-tour video. My name is Victor Chen and I will be your narrator for today. Let's get started. Scouts will leave the USA on July 27th and arrive in Korea on July 28th after a 12 to 15 hour direct flight depending on departure airport. Scouts will arrive at the Incheon International Airport. It is one of the world's busiest, cleanest, biggest, and best airports. Trained scouters and others will greet our scouts when they arrive in Korea. Scouts will then travel with escorts to their hotel, where they will meet up with the rest of their troop. Scouts will get lunch and dinner, and then get some much-needed rest. Here are their stops for Day 2, July 29th. The DMZ, or Demilitarized Zone, runs along the 30th parallel that separates North Korea from South Korea. It was created at the end of World War II when North Korean and South Korean forces pulled back 1.2 miles on each side of a line that runs 150 miles across the peninsula where both countries lie. More than 1 million tourists visit the DMZ each year. Depending on conditions, weather, military training, or visiting VIPs, scouts will be on one of two tours. One tour features Fedora Observatory, where visitors can use binoculars to look down into North Korea, an area known as the Third Tunnel. The second tour scouts might take include Donggyeocheon, Unification in Korean, or Imjak Pyonghwa-nuri, and historical exhibits. These two villages are both located about a mile from the DMZ and offer a look at life along it. Gyeongbokgung Palace is rated as the #1 place to see in Seoul by TripAdvisor. It is one of the most iconic sites in Korea and has a long history. It was completed in 1395, and it means palace greatly blessed by heaven. It was destroyed around 1595 during the Japanese invasion of Korea and abandoned for around 270 years. It was restored in 1868, with the result being a small city of about 8 square miles containing 330 buildings. However, only a few buildings survived the Japanese occupation during World War II. Extensive restoration work began in 1989. Today, the National Folk Museum of Korea and the National Palace Museum of Korea are located on the palace grounds, and only half of the buildings have been restored to their former glory. One of the highlights is the changing of the guard ceremony. The National Folk Museum features exhibits that show how everyday citizens lived both past and present, including the lifestyles and traditions of everyday Korean people when the country was mainly agricultural. The history of Korean people includes displays of both cultural and historical exhibits from the daily lives of people. The Korean Way of Life exhibit hall features how technology and the spread of knowledge has resulted in Korea evolving from the Paleolithic age into the advanced country it is today. The Life Cycle of Koreans Hall traces the life of upper-class citizens from birth to death, including birthdays, education, marriage, families, and careers. The Namsan Tower offers magnificent 360-degree views of Seoul and the surrounding area. The tower was built in 1969 as Korea's first integrated transmission tower, beaming television and radio broadcasts across the capital city. It was opened to the public in 1980 and now features 32 LCD screens recounting the 600-year history of Seoul, making it a great source of pride in Korea. On Day 3, July 30th, you will be visiting these 3 locations. The first stop is the Hwaseong Temporary Palace, which is a hengun. A hengun is a palace outside of the capital where the royal family could stay temporarily in times of war. The Hwaseong Temporary Palace is the largest of these henguns. The palace had been built by King Jeongjo of the Joseon dynasty in 1795, and was part of a long line of henguns that King Jeongjo had made on the trail to his father's tomb. At the Hwaseong Temporary Palace, traditional cultural performances and activities are still held today. The palace is part of a larger Hwaseong fortress, which King Gyeongbokgung had also made. The second stop of day 3 is the Korean folk village in Yongin. It is a Joseon period village that represents how people had lived their lives during the Joseon dynasty. This village contains houses that were relocated from around the country and reconstructed to ensure it is authentic. At the Korean folk village, there are a multitude of things to do and see. There is a Korea Folk Museum, where visitors may learn about the life of a person from birth to their death in the Joseon period. The World Folk Museum hosts a multitude of exhibits that showcase aspects of cultures from around the world. Visitors may also partake and experience some parts of everyday life in farmhouses or partake in traditional diet. The final stop of the day will be the Suwon Hwaseong Fortress, which was constructed by King Gyeongbokgung, the same man who constructed the temporary palace. King Gyeongbokgung had created the fortress to be a safe haven for him when traveling to visit his father's tomb, but also as a defensive position to quell faction disputes. During the Korean War and the Japanese occupation era, parts of the fortress were destroyed. However, in the 1970s, they were restored to their original state. Visitors are able to walk on or along the outer wall of the Suwon Hwaseong Fortress, which is typically called the Suwon Wall. Part of the walk will go uphill and provide a great view of Suwon. There are a multitude of structures in the Suwon Hwaseong Fortress that visitors can explore, while also having signs providing information of the given item at the fortress. You will have 3 options to choose from on the final day of your tour: the Go to Nature Tour, Story of Korea Tour, and Highlight Tour. On the Story of Korea Tour, you will first visit the National Museum of Korean Contemporary History. It has exhibits ranging from 1894 to today. Here, scouts will learn not only about major events like the Japanese occupation, Korean War, and social movements, but also about how things like food, fashion, and music have changed over the years. The next stop is the Gyeongbokgung Marine Park, which is home to the Gyeongbokgung LST naval ship. Scouts will be able to board the ship and learn its history, from being used by the US Navy in France and Japan in World War II, to its use in the Korean Navy in Vietnam War 25 years later. The ship is also set up to show visitors what life was like for sailors aboard the ship in times of war, in addition to teaching about the battles it saw. The Jeonju Hanok Village, which is also on the Highlight Tour, is famous all across the country for its traditional hanok buildings. The village is home to over 800 of these majestic buildings and will be a great way to experience the traditional Korean way of life. Jeonju is officially known as a slow city, so take some time to walk around to see the architecture and murals of the hanoks. It is the birthplace of bibimbap, a popular traditional dish of rice and vegetables. So give it a try. Also on the Highlight Tour is the Jeongdong Cathedral, a Catholic church built in the 1910s. The cathedral has been called one of the most beautiful buildings in the country and was built in honor of local Catholic martyrs. The cathedral is a popular site for locals and tourists and is still an active church, so please be respectful when visiting. The Gyeongbokgung Shrine is the last tour in the Story of Korea tour. It is also on the Highlight Tour. Completing the trip to Jeonju will be a visit to the Gyeongbokgung Shrine, built in 1410 to honor King Taejo, the founder of the Joseon dynasty. The shrine holds portraits of multiple kings, including King Taejo, as well as some exhibits detailing local life in the 1400s. Here are a few of the stops on the Go to Nature Tour. The first stop of the day is the Chaesokgang Cliff, which is also on the Highlight Tour. Once you arrive at Chaesokgang, you will be amazed by the rugged black basalt cliffs rising majestically from the turquoise waters of the East Sea. The sound waves crashing against the cliffs will add to the ambiance, creating a truly unforgettable experience. There are multiple hiking trails from easy to moderate difficulties. Along the way, you will see various viewing platforms where you can stop to take in the wide views of the sea and surrounding landscapes. The next stop is the Naesosa Temple. On the slopes of Mount Gyeongsangbuk in the city of Gyeongsang, scouts will see the Naesosa Temple. When you arrive, You'll be greeted by the temple's beautiful and elaborate buildings, which date back to the 19th century. It is known for its impressive art collection of Buddhist relics, including paintings, sculptures, and other artwork. You will get a chance to participate in a traditional Buddha ceremony, one of the highlights of the visit there. The last stop of the day is the Gyeongbokgung Bamboo Garden. As you enter the Gyeongbokgung Bamboo Garden, you will find a beautiful bamboo forest that spans about 77 acres. The garden has 8 trails, which weave through bamboo hammocks, a children's playground, and chairs and loungers that gaze up into a vast bamboo canopy in the forest. You will also find art installations and a collection of traditional buildings in the back. Remember, it's always a great idea to wear walking shoes and bring plenty of water and sunscreen. No matter which of the tours you take on day 4, you can expect to learn a lot about our host country while seeing unforgettable scenery. Make sure to save some energy and get plenty of rest. The next stop, Seoul and the World Scout Jamboree.